This is big. NHL insider Elliotte Friedman has dropped a massive Calgary Flames goaltending update after there are already a multitude of questions swirling around the Flames crease early in the season. Should the Flames stick with who they have and overwork Dustin Wolf, or should they go and grab a trusted backup? We're going to get into all that more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and we do have to talk about last night's game. As much as a lot of us would like to forget, the Flames did indeed play the second of two back-to-backs against our biggest rivals to start this season. Brutal scheduling against the Flames to start the year. They had a scheduled loss last night, and it did go to plan, I suppose. The scheduled loss was a loss, 5-1 in Vancouver against the Canucks. The score kind of got carried away in the end. This one was actually 1-0 Vancouver going into the third, so it was a closer game. I think the better team honestly did win this game, but I also think they were the better team just because they were rested. So the rested team won this game, obviously, but the Flames just unable to come up with a ton of offense, really, which won't be surprised if that's the case for most of the season, just like it was last year. You know, that's my biggest fear for the Flames this year, is that they're just too boring to watch. So I hope that there's more youth infused in, some excitement, because, you know, last night it just wasn't the most thrilling game to watch. I shouldn't hate on it too much. It was a good hockey game for a good chunk of it, obviously, but let's hop into the box score. So Wolfie, terrible stat, 5 goals against on 26 shots, made 21 saves, the .808 save percentage, the 5.08 goals against average. Believe it or not, in my opinion, he was the best Flame again last night. He made some unreal saves, especially early in this game. You know, through 2 periods, he definitely kept the Flames in this one. Obviously, as we know, the game did get out of hand later on. Some weird goals, you know, in this game, just like there were in the game against Edmonton, kind of. But our skaters that got on the score sheet, Morgan Frost gets the goal with Farabee, the second half of Frostby, and Sharkey getting the assist. Frost and Farabee actually the only Flames that finished with a positive plus-minus in this game. Unfortunately, Gridden finished with a -4, I believe, which isn't exactly fantastic. So, yeah, not the best game of all time. And you know what's worse than just losing the game is there was actually, even almost more notably, there was quite a significant injury in this one. And you know, viewers of the channel that have been watching for at least since the start of last season will know that one guy who I'm very high on and who to me is kind of the key for a lot of what the Flames do is Kevin Ball. And unfortunately, Flames defender Kevin Ball left Thursday's game after taking a puck to the head. And it was bad timing for it to happen. And already we're getting into some injury trouble to start the year, as well as goaltending trouble, which I'll get into a little later in this video. But in my opinion, last year, Kevin Ball and Rasmus Andersson were goated before Kevin Ball got injured. Then things went, you know, completely bad, not only for the Flames, but for Rasmus Andersson and for Kevin Ball as well. Once they were kind of reunited, they just weren't the same as they were before the injury. And as we know, Rasmus Andersson finished the year -38, which is brutal. It was one of the worst in the entire league. So losing Kevin Ball this early, not fantastic, especially potentially in a game where Zane Parekh might be coming to play on Saturday. You might want him to go with Kevin Ball. If Kevin Ball's not there, not ideal. But either way, let's get a little bit more into this injury. Hopefully it won't be too severe. So the Calgary Flames ended up losing Thursday night's game against the Canucks by a 5-1 score, but a bigger loss could be blue liner Kevin Ball, who departed the game early in the third period after being struck in the head by a puck. To add insult to injury, the Canucks scored the eventual game winner off the same sequence that Ball was injured on. Everything unfolded just shy of 3 minutes into the second period. The Canucks had finished off a penalty kill with Filip Chytil exiting the penalty box and jumping into the play after sitting for 2 minutes. The Flames had their power play group on the ice and had made a partial change, but they were defending a Canucks counter-attack. Chytil's initial wrist shot changed directions after hitting Matvei Gridden's leg and went wide of the Flames' net, striking Ball in the head from behind. Ball went down in a heap and the puck bounced right back to Chytil as several players on the ice raised their arms to alert the officials that Ball was hurt, including but not limited to Rasmus Andersson, Connor Zary, and even Vancouver's Drew O'Connor. Chytil fired the puck into the Flames' net. Ball was down for a while before skating off on his own power, but he did not return to the game. In Ball's absence, the Flames' defensive pairings went into a blender for the rest of the game, and the Flames gave up 3 more goals losing 5-1. So essentially, the Flames were really only down like 1-0 with a healthy Kevin Ball. So Flames head coach Ryan Huska had no updates on Ball after the game. Not ideal. Obviously, I will give you an update if we do receive one. There has not been one at the time of recording this video. And a lot of people think, hey, maybe that goal shouldn't have counted. Even Mark Pye, the host of Canucks Digest, he even thought that goal shouldn't have counted. But either way, it doesn't really matter in the long run. What matters most here is Ball's health, because really he's kind of the glue for this decor. Now, the Flames are off on Friday, then play a matinee home game on Saturday against the St. Louis Blues. The extra defenders in the first two games were Daniil Miramanov and Zane Parekh, so it seems likely that at least one of them will slot in against the Blues. That said, Ball is a left shot and a fixture in the top four, while Miro and Parekh are both right shots. So if Ball is unavailable for Saturday, we'll likely see some significant alterations to the existing D pairings. And again, nothing has been said so far. We'll have to see. A lot of people would like to see Parekh get in, but then who does he play with kind of thing. So either way, let's hope Kevin Ball is okay. He honestly makes a big difference to this team, as was evident in that game against the Canucks. So, fingers crossed he is okay. Now, let's get into this Friedman Report, the thing on the title of this video, and the thumbie for that matter. And of course, it has to go with kind of something that's become a big deal so far in, the early days of this new regular season. So in hindsight, it's easy to second guess the Flames' decision to start Dustin Wolf in back-to-back games, but he gave the Flames the best chance to win. I'm not going to go into this article by Eric Francis, but it kind of says, we've been talking about it over the past few videos now, honestly, about what the heck to do with the goaltending. Do you play Wolf because Cooley and Prosvetov just aren't honestly good enough? But does that make it too much of a workload on Dustin Wolf? He was great against Edmonton. He was honestly great against Vancouver as well. Again, I'd say he was our best player. But either way, it slowly obviously started to wear down by the end of that Canucks game, and his stats weren't great because of it. Does that hurt his confidence? Does that hurt him moving forward? Only time can tell, of course, but either way, it is something to obviously keep note of. Now, according to one prominent insider, the Flames are reportedly seeking to address their backup goaltending situation. This is, again, another tweet of an article, this one from the Win column. You can feel free to go read it. I'm not going to get into it. I'm just going to get into what Friedman had said. So during the first intermission of tonight, so now last night's, during the first intermission of last night's Toronto-Montreal game, actually that was 2 nights ago, actually, not even last night. During the first intermission of 2 nights ago's Toronto-Montreal game, Elliotte Friedman reiterated that he thinks the Flames will address their backup goalie situation soon. Obviously, let's see how long it takes to happen. The Flames have 12 games in the month of October, including 2 back-to-backs. Now, Elliotte, also on the Flames, way back on the 32 Thoughts podcast on Monday, said, I'm concerned about the 20 to 25 games Dustin Wolf won't play in Calgary. I was surprised the Flames didn't claim any of the available goalies on waivers Monday. And a lot of fans in the Sea of Red kind of agree. Why didn't we address, our backup goalie situation? So it looks as though the Flames will address it sooner than later and maybe go out and try to acquire a goalie. Because, look, I know Cooley hasn't been given a chance yet in the NHL. Prosvetov hasn't been given a chance yet in the NHL. Obviously, both of those guys for the Flames this year, but it just doesn't look hopeful. I think a lot of people can agree with that. So it looks as though the Flames are interested in at least addressing this backup goalie situation, because you can't play Dustin Wolf 82 times this year, even as much as we would like him to, in an ideal world where he doesn't have too much of a heavy workload, I suppose, or get too tired or worn down or anything like that. But either way, hopefully everything will be all good in this goaltending situation, and hopefully everything will be all good with Kevin Ball as well. Now let's get into the comment of the day to wrap up this video, as we love to do here on the channel. I set a bit of a challenge in yesterday's video to name the 4th Flames teenager to score in their NHL debut. I obviously provided Gridden, who just did it, Parekh, who did it at the end of last year, Iggy, who did it in the late 90s, and the last one was, in fact, Brian Glynn back in the 80s. So Amen here was the first person to say it, so they get the credit there. That is the correct answer. Other players may have done it, in the playoffs. Other players may have done it not as a teenager. Other players may have done it not with the Flames kind of thing. That was just Flames history. That is your correct answer there. So well done. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to what you saw here today and have a wonderful rest of your day.